What's good, YouTube peeps and barbecue freaks? Thank you guys for joining me today. Today's video, I am going to smoke a pork butt. I've been wanting to smoke one for a while. It's been a minute. I'm going to do that today. Also, I'm going to show you the recipe that I use whenever I smoke a pork butt. It is excellent. Listen, if you want to try a good recipe, try this one and don't let it fool you. It is excellent. I'm going to cook this pork butt on my Weber Kettle. We're going to get it injected, get it rubbed down, get it on the smoker. I'm going to use some pecan wood for my smoke, and we're going to see how this turns out. Let's get started. All right, so I got the pork butt here. This is a little over 8.5 pounds, and I'm going to do very, very minimal trimming. There's just a little bit of fat that I'm going to cut off, not much. I like to cook mine fat cap up, so I do very little trimming on the fat cap. But there's some pockets in here of fat that are like really stringy. Not very good. You don't want to leave those in there like that. Here's the money muscle. I'm going to trim a little bit away from this money muscle. I'll show you just a second. Right here. See that? Just a little bit. Just expose it so I can get more rub around it. And I'll show you just a second what what I took off, how it looks. Again, I'm not going too crazy with this, but I am going to trim a little bit of it off. And that's probably it right there. You can see, like, I didn't take off hardly much here, so. This is just a backyard trim anyway. You can see here, I don't know if you can make that out, this is kind of thick. So I'm gonna trim a little bit of that down. But the best part for me on a pork butt, or the one thing that I love the most, aside from the money muscle obviously, is this fat. When it's barked up with the rub on it, oh my word, it is dang good. So I don't take a whole lot of it off. Just a little bit. This is kind of thick here, a little too thick. I really should sharpen this knife better. You know what? That's let's see. Yeah, there's some fat right here. I'm gonna get that off. And I think that's gonna be it. And then we're gonna get to the injection and the smear that I use for the outside. So that's it. I mean, just very, very simple trim. I mean, you could trim it however you like, but for backyard, I want to, leave some of this fat on. Like I said, when this fat barks up, oh my gosh, it is really, really good. So I'm gonna put this aside and we're gonna get working on that injection. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is I have a 8-ounce container of Italian dressing. And what I wanna do is strain out all the stuff on the inside. I'll get this out of here. I want to strain out all the garlic and all the seasonings that they put, so that way I just have liquid and none of this extra seasoning in here. And then we're going to reserve all this seasoning, all the seasonings that seasoning that we strain out. Let me grab a spoon real quick. All right, so I'm just gonna give that a mix. Get the rest of this strained out. That's it. Again, we want to make sure we save all of this because this is what we're going to add to our smear, our binder, as we rub. or as we apply the rub. So that's it. You got all this. Now all that's left is just a liquid, which is what we're aiming for. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is, I got all this separated. So I just have the liquid here. I'm gonna add some apple juice, and I'm just trying to go 50-50 with the apple juice and Italian dressing. So I'm just kind of eyeballing it. That should do it. But you want to try to mix this 50-50. If it isn't exactly 50-50, don't worry about it. Now to this, I like to add whatever rub that I'm going to put on the outside of the pork butt, I like to add to my injection. So the rub I'm going to use is Kent from Smiling Swine Barbecue sent me this jalapeno garlic that is really, really good that I'm going to try out. And I've been using this rib rub, which I really like. So I'm going to take a little bit of each, just kind of sprinkle it right in here. And you just, no exact measurements. You add, however much you like. And then we're going to give this a little mix. Now, in doing this, I got to use a injector that's a bigger, or that has a needle that's bigger than my liking. And that's what I have here. I have this injector here. I'm not sure what this gauge is, but it's fairly big. But we're gonna need that because you don't want, if you use a smaller gauge, like a 16 gauge, something like that, you're gonna clog up that needle. The pork butt is a pretty big piece of meat, so I'm not really worried about it. But I would never use this on chicken or anything like that. So we got this. I'm gonna set that aside. Set the rubs aside. Next, I'm gonna take. Now you can use regular honey. I'm using honey mustard just because I have some on hand. But if you have regular honey, not honey, I'm sorry. If you have regular mustard, that'll work too. And I'm just kind of eyeballing it here. And this is going to be, however, this is going to be the paste or the smear binder that goes on the outside. So, I'm just kind of eyeballing it. To that, I'm going to add some more apple juice, just kind of thin it out. Give it a mix. And the consistency of this is you're trying to go for, you don't want it too runny. You want it a little thick, not too thick, but probably like pancake batter or a little less than pancake batter. Add a little more in here. And then I'm going to take all that goodness that we strained out, dump that right in here. Just mix it up. Actually, it's gonna be a lot thinner than a pancake batter consistency. I'll show you here in just a second. But you don't want it too watery, if that makes sense. So you guys can see that. I might make it a little thicker. Yeah, I'm gonna make it just a tad thicker by adding a little more honey mustard. That should do it. Yeah, I think that's gonna be good right there. Now we're gonna take this here, inject it in our pork butt, and then once we do that, we'll take this, put it on the outside as our binder, and apply the rub. All right, so I got my pork butt, I got my injection. One thing I wanted to mention is, if you don't have a needle that's big enough, or that you feel will clog up, if you got a spice grinder, you could take the rub, grind it down, make it a little more finer, so that way it doesn't clog up your injector. So then we're just going to inject this this pork butt all over. Until we add in all this liquid here. And you may not use it all, depending on the size of your pork butt or how much injection you make. So if you don't use it all, don't worry about it. So I'll tell you what I'm doing here. As I'm sticking my needle into the pork butt, what I'm doing is I'm sticking it in, and then I'm making holes all the way around. I'm not pushing the injection in just yet. I'm kind of making caves or a cavity, and then I'll start injecting the liquid. So you see me do that. I'm not injecting just yet. Now I'm going to start injecting. Not injecting yet. Now let's inject. This is just how I do it on my pork butts when I'm doing this. This is not how I inject all the time. If I'm doing chicken or brisket, you know, I'm not injecting this way, but pork butt is a little different because you're gonna, you know, end up pulling it apart anyway. So I'm not worried about like there being holes that people can see like you could in a brisket if I did it this way. So, but you inject however you like. A lot of people will stick their needle in, and as they're pulling out, they're applying the injection. That's how I do it on my brisket and chicken. So just add the injection, you know, and then it'll be ready to rub. So let me get this injected, and then I'll pick back up once we get to rubbing. Now I'm gonna flip it over. I'm gonna inject the other side as well. You wanna inject that money muscle, every part of this. This Italian dressing does wonders, man. I'm telling you guys, it's some good stuff. I see the pork butt plumping up nicely. Oh yeah. Let me get this injected and I'll pick back up. All right, so I got the pork butt injected. We've got the smear here, the binder. Just gonna add that on top. Give it a nice little coating. Now I'm gonna come back with this jalapeno garlic from Smiling Swine's barbecue. Give it a nice coating. This is a big chunk of meat. It can hold it. Now I'm seasoning the meat side first because I like to cook my pork butts fat side up. So we're gonna season the meat side first. Do that, and I'm gonna come back with the rib rub from Smiling Swine. Whew, that jalapeno garlic kicking in. And the nostrils, you know, this rib rub from Smiling Swine is really becoming a rub that I'm really digging. I've been using it here quite a bit lately. I just really like it. Get the meat side. So, but again, you guys, you use whatever rubs you like. So I haven't used this jalapeno garlic yet. I just got it in. So I'm giving it a try, but this rib rub, I really dig. So I'm gonna get this whole thing rubbed down. And then I have the Weber fired up now, letting that come up to temp. Now I don't know what temp is gonna sit at. I'm not monitoring the temp, quite honestly. You know, to me, when I'm cooking at home, you know, your barbecue is gonna be ready when it's ready. So just pour the rest of that. So I don't worry about the temp much. Unless I'm on a time restraint, you know, then I'll monitor that. But, you know, I have no idea what I'm going to be cooking at. My guess is probably about 275 to 285. So I'm going to get this rubbed down and then we'll get it on the pit. All right, so I got the pork butt on. Again, my bottom vents are halfway open. The top vent is going to be halfway open. And got some B&B with some pecan wood there. So we're going to get the lid on it and then check back in about an hour. And throughout the cook, I'm going to spritz it probably with water or apple juice. I haven't decided, but got it on. We'll get the lid on and get this pork butt underway. You guys, this pork butt has been going for about 2.5 hours. I did come out earlier and spritz it, and we do it again here. And I'm just using apple juice for the spritz. You can see this bark is setting. We're going to have some nice color on that bark. So I don't know what the pit temp is, but this is what the pork butt looks like. going to continue to let it go. I'm going to continue to come out here and spritz probably about every 30 to 45 minutes and until it's ready to wrap. So I'll pick back up once we get to that point where it's time to wrap it up. All right, you guys, so this pork butt has been going for right at 4 hours. It's got some nice bark. I'm happy with that. So the next step is I'm gonna put it in the pan and I'm gonna add some honey, butter, and some brown sugar and some sauce to this. I like mine a little sweet, so that's why I'm adding the honey, butter, brown sugar mix. Putting that honey in there, and just so it'll hopefully help this. I took 1 whole stick of butter, sliced it up. We're gonna get that on here. Now there's still some fat in this pork butt that's gonna render out. And at the end of this, I'm gonna take this pork butt and strain out separate the fat from the liquid. Right now, this pork butt is sitting right at about, I temped it with my Thermopen, and it's reading about 164, 166. So we got some honey, some butter, some brown sugar. This is just gonna help add some of that sweetness to it that I like. And then you just use your favorite sauce. I'm going with some Head Country apple habanero because that's what I really like on, you know, pork, chicken, beef, some good stuff. Just add some of this to here. So what's going to happen is when all this stuff melts together and I strain out the fat, I'm going to have a nice, sweet, flavorful liquid that when I pull the pork butt apart, that I can add that meat to. So and that's it. I'm gonna get some foil. I'm gonna put a piece of foil right over the top and get it back on the Weber kettle and let it go till it reaches somewhere right around 203, 204, maybe 205. And then we'll pull it out, shred it up, and give it a taste. All right, you guys, this pork butt is done. It's been going for a total of right at about 8 hours. And you can see all the liquid in here. That's all that brown sugar and butter that melted with a little bit of that fat. Now, I think I mentioned earlier that I was gonna strain the fat out, but it's really not that much. So when I taste the au jus, it does not, I'm not picking up a lot of that fattiness. So I'm just gonna add a little more barbecue sauce on top. And then, you know, I thought about pulling the whole thing, but I don't think I'm gonna pull the whole thing just yet. I think I'm gonna take a piece of this pork butt. I'm gonna get some of that sauce on here. And you just use, you know, your favorite sauce. But I am gonna get some of this liquid, some of this au jus, and right on top also. This is gonna add some sweetness to it, some extra flavor. It's gonna be really, really good. So that's about it. Now I'm gonna let this set just for about 5 minutes, and then I'm just gonna pull a piece off. I'm not gonna, like I said, shred the whole thing apart just yet, but I do want to taste it with this sauce and with this au jus and see how those rubs and this sauce work together. So just gonna let it sit, like I said, right at 5 minutes, and then I'll pick back up and just tear off a chunk. And the reason I'm letting it set just a bit, I mean, it's still really, really hot, and I'm hoping that some of this residual heat will kind of set the sauce just a little bit. I don't expect it to really set it much, but we're gonna let it sit on here. So I'll pick back up in just a bit. All right, you guys, this pork butt is done. Man, that thing just looks beautiful. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful. Nice color, nice glaze. It's really tender. I could tell as I pick it up. So I think at this point, instead of shredding the whole thing just yet, I think I'm just gonna take a piece, probably right here off of the money muscle, on this backside right here, where this money muscle is. You know what? Let's look at this. It's just falling right apart, you guys. Oh man, look at that. Tender as all get out. Wow. It just comes right apart. Look at that. Yeah, buddy. This thing is tender. Oh my gosh, that looks amazing. Can you guys see that? Hold on, one second. That's that pork butt. Nice bark, nice color. You know, we're gonna give this piece a taste, see what it tastes like. All right, so I got a little piece here of the pork butt that I'm gonna taste. So good. Taste that piece right there.
This
yeah.
one?
The miss is off camera.
Howdy, peeps.
Oh,
Oh,
that's good, right?
oh my gosh.
That
So good.
garlic jalapeno from Smoking Swine, and the rib rub from Smoking Swines.
You put the jalapeno?
Yeah, those two.
No way. You can't
Yeah.
even. It's so good.
And it's so tender. Like, you just pull a little piece off.
Yes.
It just falls right off. That's so
That
good.
is super good. Good flavor. Good smoke.
Yeah, I'm not gonna tear the whole thing apart just yet, but man, oh man, you guys. That's good.
Oh, good.
I love that injection with that smear or that binder combined with these rubs. Home run.
Great combination.
Yeah. I'm telling you, try that Italian dressing with the mustard and apple juice mix. That stuff is excellent. So that's my recipe for a pork butt. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I will see you guys next time. Take care.